Well, we're back with another off the shelf knickknack.
Yeah, we're keeping going with Pokemon here. I
Yeah.
have the full set, so might as well.
So today's volumes are covering the arc Fire Red Leaf Green. So that's volumes, part of volume 8 and 9 from the omnibus editions.
It's a little weirdly
Um,
split. Like that could have made one full volume, but I can see why it's split that way. It just you get what you get with omnibuses sometimes.
yeah, it's basically one volume of an omnibus, but split weirdly down both. So
Yeah.
start in volume 8, end in volume 9. It's actually one of the shortest arcs we've read so far outside the first one.
Yeah, the arcs that cover like the not brand new like regions tend to not be shorter or tend to not be longer they tend to just not be that long.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I think I wasn't expecting it to be that short. For some reason, like in my head, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be much longer," and then it wasn't. So
No, no, definitely the original series, the original like series when they still went under the single label and volume count like continuous before they reset. Uh, they were they definitely ended on two of the shorter arcs.
oh yeah, how could I ignore the epic introduction of one of my favorite characters?
That's right. There well wasn't Snorlax in
Yes, but we had an awesome fight scene sequence with him.
I actually don't remember which fight sequence he was in.
Ah, it's the one where he like fucking launches himself at the other Pokemon like belly first.
I know it happened. I can't remember around where that in the story that was though.
It's in the first volume of the two, a little bit
Okay.
earlier. But then you see him later and he's in his little Pokeball all beat up because there's no gym for them to heal at.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm gonna be honest. The arc has a very striking ending, but I feel like this is probably one of my least favorite arcs because
I
it feels
actually
like
really enjoyed it.
really,
It was a lot of fun.
it's all right. It's just it feels like it moves way too fast for my tastes, I think.
I mean, it does move fast, but on the whole, I'm okay with that. I thought it was I didn't think it was moving too fast.
I think the problem because I've read this twice now in my life. I feel like I thought it might change on reread, but it's like for me at least everything besides the setup for the arc and the final battle of the arc really kind of blends together for me.
Mm, I don't know. I certainly wasn't expecting a whole lot of genetic manipulation, cloning.
You didn't
To
expect it to go as hard into the Mewtwo and Deoxys lore as it did.
No, it reminded me a little bit of like the Android saga in Dragon Ball.
I've I've never read or watched Dragon Ball, so I wouldn't have that point of comparison, but that'd be interesting.
Yeah, it reminded me a little bit of it.
I think so. Yeah, okay. I guess if you really like this arc, what besides Snorlax belly flopping on a Pokemon, what was your favorite part here?
Um, I liked that creepy looking scientist villain who was
Oh,
kind of manipulating things behind the scenes.
yeah, I don't remember his name. This is one of the things that gets me with the arc is a lot of these characters aren't actual game characters. They were stand-ins for what were generally generic characters in the original game.
Mhm.
So I don't know all their names off the top of my head. I kind of know who you're talking about though.
Yeah,
Like,
she kind of I don't remember if it was a she or a he because it kind of androgynous looking,
mhm.
but they almost looked a little bit like that creepy Pokemon that they were using.
Yeah, did they have a little bit of a thing going on with their hair?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I could probably find an image if I looked.
If I know what
Um,
character you're talking about, that character is not done.
This one.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's like that's the one character that does stick out from like the manga original characters for me.
Yeah, because I liked that one. Also, the reveal that Team Rocket is an acronym, get fucked.
Okay, yeah, the acronym is stupid as all hell. Let's that
It's
actually
so
might
bad.
be that might actually be canon. I feel like I've heard that before somewhere.
That's so bad.
It's terrible.
It's so bad. Because it's like they were really trying to make it an acronym, but they just couldn't come up. It's not like Shield, you know?
Okay, but even Shield was kind of bullshit. Like, I think the MCU actually introduced the Shield, like what Shield stood for, and it was like that's stretching it.
True, but at least it made sense, like strategic homeland enforcement and intervention and logistics division. Like that all made sense. Like you could name a government agency that. Um, Raid on the city, uh, like evil tusks.
Yeah, it
Raid on the city, knock out evil tusks or some shit.
that's I don't know where that came from. I don't know if that was like kanji they that had a different like acronym originally, or if they
Yeah,
made that acronym based off English and Japanese, but either explanation makes sense to me.
it's bad. It's real bad. I did like that the kind of driving force of the initial plot hook was that the professor had been kidnapped.
Yeah, yeah. It was an interesting spot to start it on too, because that's in the games you get access to the little island chain, the archipelago they go to when
Hmm.
he's upgrading your Pokedex. So
Yeah, because they said that he was upgrading their Pokedexes at the very beginning.
yeah. So that's I do like that they kind of kept they kept that like they built that into the plot a little bit. Um, and then the trainer Hill, I believe that is that like the Team Rocket's base that they have. I thought that was an interesting little sequence when they're rescuing everybody.
It was. And then I don't know, it was a good introduction for Mewtwo, in my opinion.
Mewtwo was in both red and blue
Yeah,
and the yellow arc.
but like there's more
Like he's an
Mewtwo
actual
here.
character in
Yeah.
this,
There's
as
one thing
opposed to being just the spooky monster they made.
yeah, it's one thing to just have references to the spooky monster, but like to actually meet Mewtwo and talk to him and interact with him was
This definitely
nice.
it definitely brings Mewtwo a lot more in line with his anime counterpart, where he's a lot more of a sentient feeling character with actual thoughts on the world.
Mm-hmm. And he can make his own choices, and I like that.
It made his fight with Deoxys a lot more like personal. It felt like in the moment. Like I believe I remember him like really empathizing with Deoxys as they were fighting.
Yeah. And honestly, there was just some pretty epic fights. I mean, it's pretty cool to like be in a fight where you end up like going through all your Pokemon, you know,
Hmm.
and coming out like not the winner. Like that's pretty fucking epic, especially for the main character.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
I'm
don't know,
like
man.
really,
I think this arc is better than you think it is.
I don't know. This is probably just the game brain in me speaking, if I'm honest here, because it like why what was the logic behind them freezing at the end? Like it's a striking image to end the arc on,
Yeah.
but like it felt like things kind of just like this happened and then this happened, and it's not really until like a good chunk of the way into the arc that you actually find out, oh yeah, the Octus is actually tracking them.
Yeah. Yeah, which is not great. But it's creepy and I like that.
Hmm.
Love a good creepy ending, you know?
I guess in the early arc, I did find Deoxys to be a pretty striking villain, though. Like he's
Mm-hmm.
just generally, if he feels like they do a good job building him up to feel like this overwhelming threat they can't beat. And it's
That
different from
makes
our
sense.
previous arcs where the villain, except for maybe the yellow arc, the villains just in the previous arcs are just not that omnipresent throughout most of the series.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It like often it's kind of moving from place to place and then fighting someone. And some of
Hmm.
the arcs we've been largely without the largely without the villains for like the majority of the kind of middle portions. Whereas here it doesn't really feel that way.
No, here it feels a lot more like a traditional, I would say, manga arc
Hmm.
because it's not trying to be an entire story. It's trying to be an arc of a. This is more clear than the previous arcs because we have no new characters introduced here, which is the first time for any of these arcs.
Yeah. In fact, we met up with some old characters.
Yeah, so it's a lot more like just going into the next arc of a shonen where they don't need to establish these characters. They don't need to establish the world that they're in or their goals. They introduce a threat and the characters deal with it. And maybe that's why it works more for you than me because we know my track record on like appreciating shonen arcs.
I do love me a good shonen arc, you know?
Yeah.
And the father reveal, oh my god, the feels, the ooh.
See, it's hard for me because that is like the Darth Vader is Luke's father plot twist of Pokemon, like of Gen 2's Pokemon. Everybody in the Pokemon fan base knows it, but I imagine you probably didn't going into this arc.
No, I did not know it. So for me, that was separate. I got to experience it for the first time.
Honestly, good for you because usually in the actual Pokemon games, it's kind of a nothing burger. They like
Mm,
allude to it, or it's not even touched on in Gold and Silver. That's why it wasn't mentioned in the actual arc. Later games allude to it, and then it's in an optional, like limited time missable like event you had to go to a Toys R Us to go to unlock. So like it's not something the series touches on often or with a lot of emphasis. This is probably the only time where it's like actually made into a plot twist with a lot of with a big reveal to it.
but it matters here. I mean, he
Yeah.
protects him in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice. I
I
liked it. I thought it was a well formulated arc.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a tight arc. I'll give it that. I think between it and Yellow, which was our other like not full new arc, I definitely like this one more than Yellow. I'll
Mhm.
say that.
I think I'm sure we have some viewers who watch the Pokemon reviews who have seen Dragon Ball, the original. And I think a lot of them would agree with me that it does remind you a lot of the Android saga, like the original one from OG Dragon Ball. Which is the reason why we have some Android characters in Dragon Ball Z. Like that's why we have Android 18 as a character. But it's like character carried over from original Dragon Ball. And the Android saga was really good there, and this reminded me a lot of that.
Hmm. So I take it you really like. So you probably just like Deoxys a lot then in this arc, just as
I
a.
thought Deoxys was really cool. I actually like Deoxys more than Mewtwo.
That's honestly, I'm right there with you. I'm like a introduced to Pokemon on the cusp of Gen 3 and 4 between those two generations. So like Deoxys is like much cooler for me.
Yeah.
You used to have like a toy of one of his forms. It was the
I
defensive form, like the more rounded one.
did I?
No, I did.
Oh, I was like, I don't remember
No,
that shit.
you never. You never.
Nah, the only Pokemons I have are Pikachu's.
And a Snorlax. I think some Eevees. Some Eeveelutions.
Oh, I wasn't counting the plushies, but yeah. In terms of figures, just Pokemon, just Pikachu's. But in
In
terms
terms
of
of games, you have a lot of Growliths.
yeah, but in terms of plushies, I've got Charmander, Bulbasaur, Pikachu, Pichu, Snorlax, Cubone, and someone else. I can't remember who.
I
Oh,
know
Squirtle, I think.
I know I've got a Zubat hiding around here somewhere. I don't know where that plushie is though.
I've been meaning, honestly, I've been meaning to get. There's on the same scale as the Cubone I have, there's Snorlax and Mimikyu, but like that Snorlax is like this big compared to this Snorlax, and I want it. I want the Snorlax. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm sure at least in part I enjoyed it because I liked seeing Pokemon I knew. And I enjoyed seeing kind of it. Remember how like I think it was last arc the really long one?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, because the last arc had like a big fight arc, but it dragged on for a really long time, didn't it? Or was that the one before?
They both did. I don't remember which one was the long one that you complained about though, because the our Gen Gold and Silver was the one. Gold, Silver, Crystal was the one that had like the final battle, part one, part two,
Yeah,
part
that's the
three,
one.
part four.
Yeah.
And then the last arc was the big like kaiju fight that had like
No, no, I liked the kaiju fight. It was the one that had like 15 parts to the final battle.
yeah. So Gold,
Um,
Silver, Crystal, the third arc. I mean,
yeah, so that one was probably the worst for me for fight arcs. Like I love me some shonen, but even I can't like deal with super long dragged out fight arcs. Like I mean, I'll skim through that on the best of days in the shonens that I like, you know?
hmm.
So like this to me was like a perfect sized arc. It was like concise. I feel like I got a lot of information. I feel like a lot of things happened and I got to see a lot of interesting things and some fun fights, which feels to me kind of what Pokemon's all about. So,
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I haven't got much else to say. It's a pretty short arc. There no new, like I said, no new characters. So we covered most of it, I think.
that's fair. All right. Well, then that means we'll be back next time to continue um with our book reviews. Pokemon will return. The next video up on the channel will likely not be Pokemon, it'll be something
No,
else. Because we film these in random order and we publish them in even more random orders.
just
Um,
know the next Pokemon arc is Emerald.
yes. Yep. So like, comment, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later about Pokemon.
Bye.